Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Crack the Egg podcast. I'm Adriana,
And I'm Jess.
and today we're in episode 11, and we're going to be talking about kind of a state of the union, so to call it, on market so far in 2025. Both of us are actually not crocheting today. The vibes just aren't there. For me, it's because, in part, what I have been working on that I'll talk about later in this episode, I don't have a pattern quite memorized yet, and I don't want to sit here and try to think it through while I'm speaking. And I also don't want to start any projects that I can't finish because when we're done recording, I also have to focus on several custom orders that need to be finished by the end of the day, Monday. So that's kind of my reasoning. Jess, would you like to enlighten why you're not crocheting either?
I don't really have a good reason. I did finish a pretty detailed Labubu this morning. So I'm decompressing, I guess, from that. And anything that I kind of want to be making right now is either a new pattern or there's too much counting. And what we're going to be discussing today, I feel needs some attention. Um, and just knowing myself, like I would get caught up in talking and it would just be sitting on my lap. So
Yeah.
I'll focus after we're done.
Yeah. And I think sometimes that break is also necessary to take. Like, I struggle with it because I'm always like, okay, that was an hour or whatever that I could have made something, but it's just you're not a machine, and when you don't feel like it, don't push yourself because that's how you get to burnout. So, yeah.
And injury.
Yeah, that too. So I wanted to take this opportunity. We kind of both have a natural break in our markets, and we previewed this a little bit at the end of the last episode, but I wanted to take an opportunity because of this break, we're kind of splitting up both the first half of our market season from the second half, and it allows us to have time to reflect on how the year has gone for the both of us so far, and then also what are we hoping to do in the second half of our market year. I think technically we still have more months to go in the end of the year versus the first half, but it does feel like this is some kind of transition point for us. So we thought we would take this time to do some reflection with you guys and talk about both how things are going, what changes we have made and are planning to make, and then also how are we hoping to finish out the rest of the year. Anything to add?
Nope, you hit it all.
So, we have this broken up into a couple different sections, and so the first part is very simply just to reflect on the first half of the year. And so, the first question we're going to get into is what were our goals and expectations going into the 2025 craft show season, and how have those been going?
Let me answer that first.
Yeah, go for it.
um, I don't really set like a year goal, I think, or really specific goals anymore, where I am in this business. I usually just have the general goal of doing better than I did the year prior. And so far that's not going well. I'm coming up a little bit short at every show that I've done from last year. But that was also the trend last year, and I would really like to break that. So hopefully, I mean, I still have a lot of shows to go in the year, and I'm hoping some of the things we're going to be talking about will help boost those numbers.
Yeah. So for reference, when we do get into some numbers later, I only went into 2024 since that was my first full calendar year of business. 2023 was both it was both the first year, but I didn't start like right away at the beginning of the market season. And also, it was such a weird year because I really didn't know what I was doing. So, when I talk about, or at least for me, when I talk about some of the numbers and stuff, I won't reference that. I'll just be comparing back to 2024. But as far as my goals and expectations, I was going to make a bingo board, but I couldn't come up with like 20 things that were my goal for the year. And so I did come up with a list of 5 things at the beginning of the year. And it's just something that I've had mentally. Like I didn't make a vision board or anything like that, although I have done that in the past. Um, and so my first goal of the year was to get into a brick and mortar store. And I have achieved that, thankfully. And the reason why it was such a goal for me this year is because I did dabble with the idea a little bit last year. And then when I was talking to friends of mine who are in these stores, they talked about they were able to pivot away from doing as many markets and having a little bit more steadier income because of being in a store. And so that was something I knew I wanted for myself. And so I'm very thankful that that happened for me very early this year. I didn't have to go that long into the year before I knew I had this opportunity. And so and I've been enjoying it so far. I think the learning curve hasn't been too much. Um, so yeah, that was my first goal. My second goal was to start a podcast, which we also did achieve. We talked about at the beginning of this show kind of my thoughts behind it. I wasn't really sure how I wanted to do it, but I knew I wanted to put my voice a little bit more out into the world because there aren't as many crochet podcasts, but especially not ones in which they primarily talk about the business aspect of things. And I found when I was getting started, being able to look at other crocheters as small business owners was so helpful because I don't have any reference point around me. And if it weren't for getting into markets in the first place, you and I would never have even met, and I wouldn't have had you to kind of bounce ideas off of and collaborate with and stuff. So, starting this podcast is something really important to me, and it's definitely a little bit different than I guess I expected, but not in a bad way. Just as far as I didn't think of like how much planning, I guess some of it would take, but I think that's who I am as a person, that when I put my mind to something and I have an idea in my head of what I want something to look like, I tend to really get wrapped up in it. Um, but I've been enjoying the journey so far, and I, yeah, I hope you would say the same.
I do. I think it's been a fun little journey that we've been taking with this.
Yeah, and I like that some of my other vendor friends who aren't necessarily crocheters who listen, it's been nice getting like feedback from them and like hearing directly from them because it's not like because of them listening to the podcast and some of the things that they've learned both about me and my business, but also just about what is it like for crochet small business owners in this space of making and vending at markets, and those types of conversations I don't think just based on sheer social media presence alone would have really, organically developed, I guess. And so for that I'm also grateful. Um and then the third goal that I have is to do fewer markets. And so when I get into some of my comparisons later, it won't seem like that's the case because if I base where I'm at right now year to date versus last year, I have done one more market this year than I did last year. But when you go through the rest of the year, last year I think I did 17 markets, and this year I'm on pace to do somewhere between 9 to 11, which I wanted to do fewer. 17 was not sustainable for me, and I knew at the end of last year, 2024, I knew that 2025 in a lot of ways is going to be more challenging. I got a leadership position at my school. I did finish with my master's, so I knew that would be one less thing on my plate. And then with the hopes that I would eventually get into a store, I knew in a lot of ways life would get busier. And now with being engaged in wedding planning, it's busier yet. And so doing fewer markets has really helped me both from an inventory side of things because I'm still pressed for time, but it's not like it was before where there were a couple stretches last year where I had three or four markets back to back to back to back, and I just couldn't sustain any kind of inventory level that I wanted, and I really ended up stretching myself quite thin. So I wanted to do fewer markets, and I would say I have achieved that. I don't see a world in which I suddenly add six, seven, eight markets between now and the end of the year that aren't already scheduled. Nor should anyone let me do that if I start talking like that. So
Gotcha.
yeah, please don't. Um, and then my last two goals, I have not yet achieved them, but I am positive that I will. So the fourth goal that I have is to have a comma market. I know I probably need to not be so stressed on that, but it's a milestone. I want to hit it. I know I will hit it. I'm just waiting for the right market and the right time, and so it'll happen. I'm sure of it.
It
Uh,
will. I believe in you.
yeah. And then the fifth thing is I want to write a pattern of my own. I really want to get into pattern writing. It's hard for me though because I don't it would be easy to get into pattern writing and write patterns for cows and pigs and like the stuff that's been done dozens of times. And no hate to the people who are writing patterns for things like that because I can respect that every artist does a pattern in a different way. The design's different, the approach is different. Like I get that, and there's space for that, and clearly there's a need because people are buying these patterns regardless of how many iterations there are, but I really I've had a pattern in my head for a while now for something. I'm not going to talk about it just in case someone would I don't know, get inspired by my idea and then run with it, but it's something that I've never seen a crochet pattern for. It's been in my head, but it's been a matter of the time and also a little bit of imposter syndrome to actually sit there, get it out, write it, take pictures, do a tester call, like all those things, especially when I'm not like some huge, crochet influencer, so to say. Like I don't have thousands of followers and things like that. So, it's a little bit of a risk that I haven't yet decided to take, but it's one I want to do. Again, from the standpoint that it's another income stream, and if I want to get myself into a position where I can at least be even if I could go to like part-time teaching and I do part-time entrepreneurship, even if it's not just crocheting, it's other things that are more, I guess, passive income, so to say. Like that's something I'm really interested in exploring. So that's my fifth goal. We'll see when I have the time or when I get to it, but I'm optimistic that I will. I just need to like actually just sit down and do it and just set an afternoon aside and say, ignore all the other pressures of the store, of market prepping, and just get it done.
It is a very unique design that you want to come up with. So I'm very curious to see how this goes for you.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's either going to be a pattern that no one ever looks at, or it's going to be a pattern that is a catalyst for patterns in this specific area to just take off because they just don't. It's like the one thing, or maybe there are other things, but I just don't know them. But it's like the one thing that I feel like I just haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
So.
I've definitely never seen anything like it on the market. So
Yeah. So it's a niche thing, but I see niche patterns all the time. The Labubu is a bit of a niche thing. I mean, it's trending, yes, but like there's a very certain type of person that's interested in stuff like that. And I think not only might this like pattern be of interest to certain crocheters, but I think the people who set up at markets or in stores, I think this will help them tap into a demographic that isn't normally targeted with crochet plushies.
I also think it would open, I know you said fewer markets, but I think it would open up like a new kind of market that you could go to.
Yeah, for sure. And even like, because it's not even just that one idea. Like, I have another idea after but the design of this first thing is so difficult, because there are several parts to it that aren't great shapes to try to crochet. I figured it out. I just need to sit down and make it.
Right.
But the other thing that I have in mind that is very closely related to this, that is not such a difficult construction, and I think that one won't take me any time at all to come up with. But we'll see.
Maybe that should be the one you do first. I know
Maybe.
your heart is set on this other one, but like maybe ease into it with
Yeah.
a more basic.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. My brain is always like, do the hardest thing first, get that out of the way, and then, but yeah, I don't know. So we'll see. I'm hopeful that by the end of the summer, I'll at least have made a prototype or a couple prototypes, and then I can maybe start sharing about what the process looks like. That'll be something really interesting to be on the other side of a tester call because I've never obviously been the one who's designed a pattern. So we'll see.
How do you choose a tester? That would be very,
I
very
don't
interesting.
I don't know, and I just see so many like politics behind it that I'm just like I don't know. Part I've seen people where like they won't open it up to the public. They'll like pick their friends and stuff, but I always worry like do you run the risk then of your friends trying to be nice to you and not actually give you the feedback that you need?
I'll give you feedback.
Yeah, I trust your feedback. I know you would not sugarcoat any feedback on it.
I'm
But
brutally honest.
there are some other people that I'm like, I don't know, maybe they would. It's hard to say, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
Okay, so far, have you had any best-selling items? And if you did, was it a surprise to you?
So I didn't go through like all of my sales as far as like counting, okay, what was the first bestseller, second, third. I just found the first. And just based off of markets, not including the Hive, which nothing that I talk about today for the comparison will relate to that. But turtles, and I've sold 25 this year at markets. That was by far and away the most common. I think if I had to guess what the second most is, I would say it's loaf cats.
Yeah.
What about you?
Um, Not one specifically, but pretty much any of the lower priced items, which is not new information to anybody. Like anything in the $10-15 range is usually people don't question. They they buy it. Um, and then I brought in the mystery bags at the Pickle Fest, and I was told they would do well. I was like, whatever, but I did it,
Hmm.
and they were very surprising. The attention that they got and like the excitement people had for them. Like I didn't even give any kind of idea what was in these bags. Like they were 100% mystery. You didn't know what you were getting. But I was able to tell people it kind of like intrigued them. I would say what is in the bag you cannot see anywhere else on my table. So that seemed to draw them in more, and it's been a lot of fun with those.
That'd be a really cool experiment to do. I mean, obviously, to go from one show to the next, it's never the same people, it's never the same patterns. But it would be interesting to see, are people more likely to buy a mystery bag when it is a total mystery to them, or are they more likely to buy it if they know what they have the odds of getting?
Hmm.
Because, yeah, I don't know. I am someone who's not risk, or I am very risk averse. I do not, I would be more likely to buy a mystery bag if I knew what my odds were of getting whatever. But
I
I
know
don't know.
I would if I saw my options and like I would fall in love with one.
That's
If I
fair.
didn't get that one, I'd be like bummed out.
That's fair. That makes me wonder. Yeah, I don't know.
It's been like, and so far, when I've watched the people open them, like no one's been disappointed.
Mm,
So, I mean, it's been a fun experience.
mm-hmm. I got you. Um, have you tested out any new locations or event organizers? And if you did, have you learned anything from that?
Uh, my first show was Four State. I've worked with them before. However, this first one in April was in Hagerstown. So they do two a year, one in Hagerstown and one in Harrisburg. And I've done Harrisburg a couple times. and I decided to add Hagerstown onto the calendar. So same organizer, different location. Um, it was fine. It was like no complaints. I'll do it again next year. And Pickle Fest was new, new everything, and that was a whole experience that we talked about a couple episodes ago. So um coming up, there's a couple new places this year, so I'm excited to see how that does.
Yeah, for me, I did have the one new market that was the one in April up in Pottsville where I was invited by Lucy and Lee to be a vendor there. And what I learned out of that is, and I had talked about this during that market debrief, is like networking really can lead to other opportunities. I never would have gotten that chance had I not talked to Heather both on social media and then at markets when we were at the same ones together. And then as far as any other, I haven't tried anything else that's necessarily new in terms of organizers, but some of the locations have been new. So my first market of the year was at a barn venue that I had never been to before. And then with that same organizer, the Wandering Maker, the show that I did this past weekend in Mechanicsburg, that venue was also new to me. Um, I don't know that I necessarily learned anything from either of those two, having them been new, like both of them be new. I mean, they were both indoor, which was nothing new to me. The first market, I did have the opportunity to set up the night before, and I realized like that does make the morning go so much smoother, but I didn't have that opportunity at any other shows this year. And I think I would only take that in a situation like back in March where the venue was 5 minutes from my house. I don't think I would do that if the venue's a half hour away, for example. Um,
Adding
and
on to that,
yeah.
same organizer, different location. We both experienced that. How um like for me, it just felt normal. Like even though I was at a new location, I was familiar with how they like set up and ran things, that basically I didn't really have any questions. I kind of just like went with the flow. Did you experience that at all?
I would say yeah, it was the same. I know their faces, like so I know who to look for. I a lot, not that all of the vendors are the same across their shows, but there's a lot of repeats. So like it's nice to be able to see the familiar faces, and even with being in places that I was never in before, the anxiety of setting up somewhere new, like that's kind of completely gone away for me gone away for me at this point. Like there's always, I think, the anxiety that what if I don't sell anything, which is, unrealistic, but like that kind of thing. But as far as like getting there and setting up and stuff, for the most part, that's kind of fallen by the wayside a little bit. I think just as I get more experienced and confident in what I'm doing and the variety of places where I've set up now, there's nothing that's really like, I don't know, all that scary to me in that regard anymore.
Yeah. So, what have your numbers been this year, and how did it compare to the first half of last year?
Okay, so we're gonna start with 2024. So 2024 year to date, so by June 20th of last year, I had done three markets. My total sales were $848. However, it was important to me that in order for me to compare apples and apples, that I also take out booth fees. Unfortunately, what I don't have available is what my inventory levels were in 2024 for every show. And even this year, it's kind of because I haven't been, now that the market season started, I haven't been very consistent as far as tracking my inventory. Um, but after sales in 2024, by this time last year, I had made $593 after booth fees. I will say at least one of the booth fees I paid last year by this time was $120, which was brutal. And so I haven't paid anything like that this year. And so 2025 year to date, I have done four markets, so that's one more. than at this point last year. But again, for the rest of the year, I'm scheduled to do fewer markets. Um, this year, I'm at $1,369 in total sales. And once you account for booth fees, I'm at 1,099. So I'm all but doubled in sales after booth fees when you compare it to the prior year, which I did not, until I sat down and did this calculation, I don't think I would have told you that that was the case. I would have thought that they're probably pretty similar, and that's not the case at all. Now I have done one more market, yes, but I don't think that that's entirely to explain for all of this. I mean, I've changed some things in my booth. I've added some things. I've done a better job this year of maintaining certain levels of inventory. So, ex for example, last year, because of the way that I did my scheduling of markets, I almost always was only ever to focus on restocking maybe one thing in between markets. And so I almost never had more than what I put out on the table. So, like turtles, for example, my Ferris wheel holds 7 or 8. I almost always came to every show with just 7 or 8, and when they were gone, they were gone. Whereas this year, I'm bringing at least, I don't know, to most shows somewhere in the 20s. So I'm able to restock those the minute that they sell, and I'm not just stuck with both empty blue space and also just not having the ability to restock. It's still obviously not where I would like to be, but it is reassuring to me to see that like there is growth. I am doing some things at least right. So far. Um, so for me, I'm happy with what I found out. What about you?
I guess I should be happy. This time last year though, I've only done one show and it was sci-fi. Um, being that Force Date, Hagerstown, and the Pickle Fest were both new shows to me this year. That added on to my numbers. Sci-fi is always in June. Um, and that time between the Christmas show and June is always too long. So like I always get really antsy, and then when I start seeing everybody else like starting their season, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't sit around and wait anymore. So that's partly why I added those shows on. But number wise, this time last year at Sci-Fi, I had made 2,368. Um, and at the moment, I am at 4,677.
Oh my gosh, look at you.
But for me, for three shows, I should be at least 6,000,
Sure.
especially the kinds of shows that I've done. Two Comic Cons, I should have at least hit 2,000 each. And that didn't happen. Um, but again, that's something we'll be discussing further into this episode, like of what I'm learning and how I'm going to be proceeding.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I kind of what I found interesting was that my average sale, both for after doing three shows and one show last year, was the same. It
Hmm.
was my average sale, it was 2461 last year and 2493 reverse 2493 last year, 2461 this year.
Mm-hmm. I did not run that calculation, so I do not
That's
have that
fine.
available. But that is interesting. Um, yeah, that is interesting. I don't know.
Yeah. There's not
Um,
much to compare at this point since I only had done one show
right.
by this time last year. Next year, if we do this, it'll definitely be a new number.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see next year too, what some of our comparisons might look like, especially because like I already know, and we'll get into this later, like I'm changing up some of my strategy for next year already. So yeah, it'll be interesting. So the next part of our episode, we're going to be talking about how we're adapting and innovating. So, um, you I don't think I would say probably anyone who's in this, vendor market business, I would say I don't think anyone just does the same thing every show, just rolls everything over. Maybe some do, but I know Jess and myself were constantly looking for ways to improve our experience both for our customers, but also for ourselves too. In how we're setting up our booths and what products we're choosing to make. And so that's what we're going to talk about in the next part of our episode here. So my first question is, what display changes have we made to our booths this year, and how do we think they've impacted sales or engagement or experience in general?
Um, Display pieces. This is a hard question. Like, I'm always looking for new ways to display my items that is also easier portability, um, like setup, tear down.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think we kind of found the right stuff and I haven't really changed much,
Mm-hmm.
but we have shifted like how we build it in our space.
Mm-hmm.
Basically because there's a lot of new product this year that requires different whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much for all our outdoor spaces, it's usually always the same. We do the L shape and then we do standing shelves, high
Mm-hmm.
olive.
Oh my gosh. Olive, now is not the time to lose your head. Addie will be home soon. Go away. Oh my gosh, she's like a small child. Up, you
I'm
can
like,
see her in
Olive
the
must be
frame.
there. She's
Yep.
really
I'm
moving around.
fighting for my life over here, trying to keep my laptop open and my mic from hitting me in the face because she's losing it on my chair. Yes, we hear you. We see you. I'll go get a toy. Anyway, go ahead.
Anyway, um, so far, the only really huge difference we did was our this last show at Sci-Fi, because of our space restrictions and needing to fit all our stuff in that space, and we utilized going vertical more. We're pretty much using all areas vertically, but we just went more vertical than usual.
Hmm.
And it's worked out pretty well. What about your display stuff?
I know this first thing when I say it, you're gonna be like, "Oh, I did that too." So the first thing that I changed this year was I changed the way that I display my pricing. So previously I had chalkboards and the chalkboards were okay, but they weren't as they allowed me to easily change prices if I decided to up something or whatever. But I just felt like they didn't look as professional, and if the slightest bit of wind comes, they always blow them right off. So what I switched to was I created these little signs. I'll have a picture put in our video, but if you don't see the picture, it's just very simple. I took what is an egg-looking shape and put my price on it for, let's say, loaf cats are $25. It says loaf cats 25. And it's colorful, like I made it match my branding. And then I cut them out, laminated them, and then what I do is I'm clipping them with double-sided clips to wherever they need to go in my booth. And I don't know if it's necessarily made a huge difference to customers, but it's made a difference to me as far as just looking a little bit more like I know what I'm doing, and it has made it nicer so I'm not chasing. Now, I haven't had to deal too much with wind so far because I think every one of my shows has technically been indoor. But I like that I don't have to deal with hunting down the little, um, yeah, chalkboard stands and stuff. Um, and it adds little pops of color, which I think never hurts.
Yeah.
Um, the other change that I'm making, and this is one I haven't done yet, so I haven't tried that out. But I got new tablecloths. So because I'm doing a better job at inventory planning, I'm pretty regularly, I would say it shows, I'm going under my table to take out new inventory, or I'm also storing different stuff down there. And so what I did, I will pull up the picture because I took a screenshot. I got new tablecloths. The what I have right now are those black stretchy ones that like fit tight against the thing. And what I got now from Amazon is they're just straight black still, so I went with the same color, but the back is open. And I wanted that so it would be easier for me to reach in. And I also think that the one thing I don't like about the stretchy ones is you can start to see where they're wearing because they're getting stretched all the time. So I also wanted to avoid wearing out those. So I kind of, the idea was to kill two birds with one stone. And so I haven't obviously tried it out yet in the market to see if it's going to make the experience better, but I have to believe that it will because as of right now, I'm constantly having to lift up the thing and I can't just like very easily go under. And it also makes it difficult to see which bag I'm pulling from because I have my inventory split up into multiple bags depending on what the item is. And so that's not so much, again, something to impact the customer point of view, but it's going to make a difference for me as far as my experience as the vendor.
I think a negative about those stretchy ones, I've never gone that route. It was thought of, but we quickly realized that you can, as a customer, you can see what you have under your table. So like you
Hmm.
can see all the boxes and like body bags and stuff you have under the table. And I thought that looked sloppy.
Hmm.
So I've had a very similar tablecloth to what you got, except it's like a full, all four
Hmm.
sides come down. And we just clip up the side behind us. So,
Hmm.
and it's worked really well.
Yeah. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm excited to try it out and at least, it's the little things on market days to try to make the experience a little bit better because those days can be so long. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm excited for this next question. What new products or items have you introduced this year, both based on trends or customer feedback, or because simply you felt like creating and selling that item?
So many things. I don't know that anything was similar from last year, except my pickles. Um, Obviously the anchors, big and small I did, and snakes, Spider-Man, the lovies, um, more of the mom stitch Eddie patterns. So far, I've only did of standing ones, a bear, a wolf, and a dragon. And then a laying down dragon. Mini loaf cats. I did the big loaf cats last year. Frogs, Perry the platypus. I made a balloon dog. I got rid of the ball birds, like the chicken, duck, because they were just, I think they're past their time now. Um, but I did do a blue chicken for Stardew Valley. Um, and the mystery bags and chicken nuggets.
Mm-hmm.
A
That's a
lot of
good
things.
that's a good variety though, and I think that's something that's like a really strong point of your business and your booth is that you just have so many like different options, and I think um for a customer like you're intriguing multiple groups of people and not just, one. So, yeah.
Yeah. Also axolotls and will o' the wisps. I forgot about them.
Mm,
Yep.
yeah. As far as new stuff for me, there are two things I'm gonna mention, but before I talk about those, just like other little things, I've also added the anchor. Granted, haven't sold him yet, but he's there. He's
I still
chilling.
haven't sold a big one. So
Yeah. Yeah, he's chilling, but um, we'll see what happens when I bring a mini to market. And then a couple other things that I had in my booth this year that were new. In the springtime, I had peeps, and those did really well. So I think if I can keep finding other ways to have seasonal items, that at least with the peeps, and when I did have seasonal turtles last year, they have done well for me. Now I am stuck with a couple of peeps, but all that means is I'm ahead of market planning for next year. So, I don't see it as a bad thing to hold some of the inventory. We're not talking tens of 20 or whatever peeps. I'm talking like five. So, and it ended up, informing me that yellow peeps, despite the fact that to me, that is the classic peep color, they don't sell. And that was good feedback for me. Maybe they will next year. Who knows? Um, but I'm trying to think of other little stuff that I've added. I currently have a pattern test that I did for a pork chop, but that's not something I'll intend to make again, most likely. And other than that, everything for the most part has pretty much stayed the same. Now, there are two things that I am instituting for the second half of the year. And the first thing is something that I was inspired to do by Avian and Jess because they've had so much success with it. And they are mystery boxes or mystery bags. I had wanted to do this last year. I'd started thinking about it midsummer, and I bought the packaging for what I wanted to do. And the idea that I had in my head was every month I wanted to do like a different theme, and then I just never got to it. And so when we've had our discussions lately on the podcast, and I'm hearing the success of the mystery boxes, I'm like, well, I really should revisit that. And so part of my original idea stayed as far as doing themed things. I think that helps it keep it fresh for me, but then it also helps it keep it fresh for customers because if they're coming to see me at multiple shows, they're not necessarily going to see the same mystery boxes from show to show. But I'm not going to base it off of a month. I'm just going to base it off of a season. And I set up for markets 3 seasons out of the year, spring, summer, fall. So I will stick to like a spring, summer, and fall mystery box. So I'll show you guys the packaging real quick that I'm using. I got it last year. They are little, they're technically party favor boxes and they are very reminiscent of Mario. And currently what's going to happen with mystery boxes is I'm kind of sort of piloting them, but not really. I'm gonna do it regardless kind of how they do up at the Hive, but I am for my restock on Monday going to be taking some up to the Hive. And the first box theme that I'm going to do is aquatic. Because when I think of summertime, I think of aquatic animals. And so what I've been working on this week is I've chose 3 patterns. They were all free, which was also nice. And I chose 3 colors, and then for each one, I'm making 3. So this is where I go back to what we were talking about earlier, Jess, where you were saying, like, is it better for people to not know exactly what it is that they're getting or not? I don't know. But what are the odds that someone who's listening to this podcast is going to go shop these at the store because they hear about it, right?
You never know.
You never know, but like I'm probably talking to one person. So, we'll call it a podcast exclusive. So and you can see kind of what I'm working with. You're not going to see, let me see if I can get all the colors. I got that one. I got that one. For my first box, the patterns for the aquatic creatures, I got them from All From Jade. They're free patterns she posted. They're wonderful. So, what I'm going to show you here is not all of the colors because I haven't finished making everything yet. But the first item in the mystery boxes will be these little whales. So I have them in 3 colors, and you'll see the examples of all 3 colors. But these little whales. And then I have these little fishies. So the whales will also come in this green color, and then the fish will also come in this blue color. And then the third and final item that will be in the mystery boxes will be these little octopus. So again, the whales will be in this purple as well. So you'll see all 3 varieties. So what it works out to is 27 items for the first round of mystery boxes. And then what I'm thinking is most likely come my show in August. I don't know if I'll make quite as many, but because the plan would be it doesn't look like I'm doing a show in September. So come October, I would switch to like a fall theme, but I haven't decided what that's going to be yet. So that's my first new product that I'll be experimenting with come the fall. And then the second is I'm trying to find ways to continue to appeal to the market that I've done well with. And the market is like, grandparents or young moms or whatever, because To a degree, loveys have been popular for me. I used to also do baby bear hats. I'm constantly going back and forth of should I bring those back because they were also a really good seller for me. I just am not a fan of making them. And so I wanted to dive into another type of plushie that would be relevant to a toddler, that would be at a cheaper price point because the loveys are so expensive as they should be. They take a lot of time to make. And so I haven't started making them yet, but I got the bundle packs for the Fable collection by Oak and Marlowe. So if you're watching the YouTube video, I'm currently showing the her latest pattern that came out this week, which is the Oak and Marlowe. So they're just pretty simple, like different animals, but then what I think makes them really cool and interactive and great for toddlers, is that they come with clothing options. And so to make clothing for a lovey is a little time consuming. There also aren't a lot of patterns out there for it, but whereas for these guys, which I don't know how else to call them other than like little animal dolls, I guess you could say, the clothing, she already has tons of patterns and options, like little costumes, like a bee costume, different farm animal costumes. And they're also so small already. So that's going to be an area of my booth that I'm trying to have developed for the March market, or not March market, oh my gosh, August market that I'm doing. And we'll see how that goes. I'm guesstimating that I won't have to charge more than 30 for them as far as like the little animals, and then for the outfits, I'm not really sure how I'm going to organize that yet or how I'm going to price that yet. But I just think that could be another more affordable option if people are looking to shop for the little ones in their life. And so, yeah, I'm really excited about both of those.
Cool. I think the mysteries will do well.
I hope so. I hope so. So, but now I'm not sure because what I was gonna do is I was gonna create a sign both for the store and at markets that have pictures of like each of the options. But now I'm like, do I just say it's aquatic themed? I don't know.
Wait, each of the options, like with all the colors?
Yes. So what I was gonna do is,
No,
you don't think?
nope. Don't
Just
do that.
say it's aquatic themed and go from there.
If you want to say anything, you can say it's aquatic themed.
Uh-huh.
But if you were to do pictures, just one of each item.
Yeah.
They could be in the different color. Like,
Well, it was the idea that I was gonna have would be like have three whales in a picture in the green, the blue, and then the
oh,
purple,
in a
and then
single
have a,
picture.
you know what I'm saying, and then have like a grouping for the whales, and then the um
I say don't do it. I
fish.
say just say it's aquatic themed.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because
Yeah, you have a fair point. Like they could fall in love. I might crowdsource this one too. Like I might post on Instagram and see what people say. Um, if
people
they
made me put a face on that stupid Labubu.
I was one of those people. It needed the face, but it looks so good and like it looks like it came straight out of like a toy shop.
Yeah, right.
It does. Oh my gosh. So yeah. That's what I have coming up the pipeline. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm excited.
Um, have we changed our approach to inventory planning?
For me, in comparison to last year, yes, but we've talked about that at length. I'm doing fewer markets. It's giving me more time. I'm more focused about what it is that I'm planning, trying to make sure I have lots of the small stuff and not worried as much about the bigger stuff.
I haven't changed, but I should.
That's fair.
Like I know very well. And I tell it to myself before every show as I'm prepping, like I really need to focus on these smaller items. And then I just don't do it. And
Hmm.
then, like, for example, at sci-fi, 2 days later, people were asking if I still had these items that I no longer had.
Hmm.
So those were missed opportunities for sales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But once again, you come back to you cannot predict what the people are going to want or buy.
Nope.
It's such a pain. I wish we could. So, the last part of our State of the Union on markets is we're going to talk a little bit about where are we looking to go this year? What are we looking ahead to for both the fall slash holiday market season? So, the first question that I have, do we approach fall shows differently than summer and spring shows? And if we do, how?
I do. Um, but I don't even think it's fall versus spring and summer. I think it's the kind of show it is. And for me, it just so happens that the fall and winter are more of my outside local street craft fairs or like Christmas um, holiday shows. They're the the street shows that I do are kind of high end. So I bring out it's less of a plushy kind of market, and I bring out pocket shaws. My fingerless gloves are always a big hit. Coffee cozies. Um, More so in the winters when I do all the hats and stuff. But that's like right now I'm starting to think about that stuff. Every year I usually do a different style of a winter beanie. There's usually a new pattern that I'm drawn to. Um, Last year it was Y and V crochet. She had a like a chunky, real quick hat to make. Um, I don't remember the pattern this year, but I am in love with it. So I need to get making those. But the big thing, my sister is helping me out because you have to make your own palms for this particular hat. And I just don't want to do it. So she's been busting out these palms because last December at Chris Kindle Market in Linglestown, before the show even started, I sold out of my Santa and elf hats to vendors. And I had like 10 of them. And I had a feeling I should have made more, but I didn't. I should really start going with my gut on things. Watch them not even be a thing this year. But I could have made so many sales on these Santa and elf hats. They're really cute. They're really kind of vintagey looking. Um, so she's been making the palms for me. And she's like, you got to start making the hats now because we should probably start putting them out at like Lidditz in August and like the earlier shows because you never know.
Hmm.
And on that note, like with the same yarn, I made Christmas stockings that did really well. So I've got to start making them now. So I have a good stock of them. But yeah, it's other than the Comic Cons coming up, every other show I have is pretty much less focus on plushies and a higher focus on like winter accessories.
Hmm. That makes sense though, but that's also again like back to like the variety aspect. You're getting to more people by having some of those wearables, and they're also not wearables that are that terrible to make.
Yeah.
Like the pocket shawls, you do that on a knitting machine, right?
Yep. And that's again where my sister helps out. Like, and I pay her like for every pocket shawl sale we have, she gets a percentage of it on top of what I pay her for helping out at the show. So she is able to crank out the panels on the knitting machine, and then I just crochet the panels together and like add the pockets and finish them up with crochet. So it's a team effort on some
Sure.
of these things, but yeah, like the hats, they're an easy thing I can sneak into Bears games, like because they're very strict on their bag policy. So I'm able to like, tuck and sneak in a ball of yarn and a crochet hook and whip out a hat or a pair of gloves at a game. So
Sure. For me, I don't know that I have as much experience to fall back on because I've only had two fall or winter seasons at this point. I think this year, like I need to maybe try to find a couple more patterns of like seasonal things I can make. Because that's not something I've done so much of in the last 2 years. But other than that, I mean, it's not necessarily that my approach is totally different, but the fact that I have time in the summer to try to make as much as I can for the holiday season, that's how I'm trying to spend my time as much as I can, just prepping. It's not even that it's just for the show in August, but just to have a good base going into what I know is going to be a really busy time.
Yep. So, what is on your prep list for fall shows?
Right now I know, and I think we talked about this in a recent episode where I have the seasonal tofu turtle patterns. I have those specifically for fall. I'm hoping that Megs will come out with like a Christmas version. She has one or two.
Did she not do that?
She doesn't have a pattern pack. She has one or two Christmas mods.
Mm.
But one I would love to see, and it's probably one I could make, but one I would love to see her come out with would be like a Santa hat mod, where and where I get the idea from is like one of the fall ones that I make that does well, or at least did well last year, was a candy corn, where the shell was a candy corn. I feel like that shape could be adapted well for like a Santa hat situation. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so I would like to also have holiday turtles for Christmas. And then beyond that, he was really trendy last year, so I don't know what it's going to be like this year, but I feel like people will still want it. The patterns are from Kits Knits, and the one specifically for fall is the Pumpkin Man. Do you know what I'm talking about? Where
No.
his head's a pumpkin, he's got a body, his arms and legs are like stripy. I'm gonna go find it while I'm talking so you can see it. I'm sure you've seen the pattern, but she also has them for like Christmas time. She's got like a reindeer, she's got a little Santa buddy. This guy, the jack-o'-lantern.
I've never seen that before.
What? It was so big and trendy last year. Oh my gosh. Well, he's one I'm trying to make. My goal is to make three of him for the fall. And then she has like the scarecrow one, but I don't think I'm gonna make him. Um,
He's cute. I like him more.
He's cute, but he requires too much other materials that I don't feel like dealing with.
Yeah.
Like his like hair, I don't want to deal with it. I just want to crochet. I don't want to do anything else. Um, and then she's got like this Barney the Snowman,
He's cute.
and then oh gosh, and then she also has this little Santa Claus,
Okay.
and then I think she has one or two more. Oh, she's got a reindeer.
Okay.
So I want to try to make a few of those. Those will be bigger items, they'll be bigger price, but I think they'll be nice, like statement pieces to have. What about you? What's on your prep list?
Well, other than the items that I just discussed, I'm always stupid and looking at new patterns and interested in them and saying, I want to make these for shows. So recently, there have been three new patterns that I purchased. I've made two of them so far. Um, One is the Labubu, which we're going to call a Lafufu. Another is like, from vending machines in the past, you'd get like a hand and it was sticky and you could like slap it on the wall or something. Well, there's a crochet pattern for a huge one of them. I've made one so far and I love it. I was kind of resistant to the idea of making it. A friend showed me it and told me I should, and I said no. But I don't know what happened. I was bored the other day or something, and I was like, I'm just gonna do it. And it came out really good. And I just want to make a whole bunch of them for like for Comic Cons, especially.
Hmm.
I think they're gonna be a hit. Um, what am I going to price them at? I have no idea. But
Yeah.
and then the other item is the designer of the Anchor the Octopus, Humble Child, has also a humpback whale. So I got the combo where it's the big one and the little one. So that I still have yet to make. So we'll see how that goes.
He's a big boy. So,
Yeah. Well, so is the Anchor.
yeah, yeah. I feel like the humpback whale, it's bigger in a different way. Like it's obviously not like size-wise, I don't think it actually is bigger, but something I think just the construction of it feels different. Um, I almost wonder if it's because if it would in some ways be easier to make. I don't know. I don't know that I'll ever try it out.
I
So
don't
you'll
know
have
that
to
it
let
would
us
be
know.
as tedious as all those tentacles.
Right. Yeah. Yeah,
We'll
you'll
see.
have to let us know how it goes when you finish it.
I will.
Um, are there any big markets or shows, or even if they're not big, that you're especially excited or nervous about?
All the big ones are coming up. Um, I'm not really, if I was nervous, it would just be in terms of if I had enough product, which I'm always concerned about before every show. But I'm excited about them all. Especially Lidditz in August. I've done that show since the beginning. I've done it for a couple years now. Last year they canceled it on a Tuesday because a hurricane was coming through, and Saturday came and it was like a gorgeous day. So I was devastated. But this is a huge, like huge show. They advertise 700 vendors and like five digits of people coming in from out of town to come shop. So it takes up most of the town and goes into the park. And I think the park got so flooded from the hurricane that that's why like they officially canceled it. But I'm hoping nothing goes wrong this year and we can do it. I missed it last year, but that's a big one that we're excited about. And the only one that we never leave our tent for because there's just so many people. We're very fortunate that we're friends with a tea shop. Our tent is in front of, it used to be called a tea affair, but the niece just took ownership of it and she changed the name of it. It's still a tea shop. I forget what it is, but they let us use their bathroom and it's like right there. So we really don't have to go anywhere. We've tried a couple times to see what was there, but immediately turn around.
I'm
Nope,
sure.
not going out into that. That's a big one. That's exciting. And then uh four state again, but in Harrisburg. Avian won't be at this one. So I'm going to try to take use that to my advantage.
Sure.
I know that I need to load up on Spider-Man, so we'll see how that goes. And then Hummelstown is always a fun one. It's kind of Lidditz-esque, but much smaller. And then everything else is kind of average. And then in December is Chris Kindle Market in Linglestown. And that's always my highest profit show every year. And that's the one where I need to bust out the Santa and elf hats.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I think that's really it. It's just excitement for this one. There's a couple new ones that I don't really have high expectations for. I'm just doing it to have like my July show is a bike race through town, and they're having a craft show and a beer garden afterwards. I think that it's only like 20 vendors. So I'm not expecting much from it, but it's just something to have on the calendar.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, what about you?
I don't know. I don't really think there's any that like particularly stand out to me. Um, the only one I would say is I have never set up and done a show on Small Business Saturday, the Saturday after Thanksgiving, and I do have a market this year, and it's with the organizer, the Wandering Maker that I've set up with so much, and it's at the same location as the one in March. And the one in March, I did really well, and so I'm very curious, what is that gonna look like when it's holiday time?
Hmm.
Um, so I don't know. I've never done, like I said, a show on that day, so I know that's going to be a very high volume day as far as markets go and the options that people have of places to go shopping. So I'm not sure, but I would say that's probably the one I'm the most excited about. Yeah,
That one, I'm excited for you for that.
yeah.
I've
So,
also never done a small business Saturday, but it's not for lack of trying. I just haven't found one that I excited enough for to sign up
mhm,
for.
sure, I can understand it. And then I guess my next question would, or our last question is going to be, what's one thing we each want to do differently in the second half?
Make more money.
Maybe aside from that? Or what is the one thing you need to do in order to make more money, I guess?
um, Probably follow through. Like if that's the best way to explain it. Like I've said multiple times already throughout this episode, I always tell myself I really need to focus on the smaller items and really build them up, and I never do it. So this episode is going to hold me accountable. I really need to bust out the smaller items.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. The thing I am going to do differently is I am no longer going to be advertising that I take custom orders, and I might not even take any at a certain point in the year. And I have mixed feelings about doing it, but like when I've realized, especially over the last, I would say 6, 7 months, as much as I love the money from custom orders, I don't know. There's something about, and I know that we've talked about this before. I know Avian mentioned it in her episode. Like, there's something about being told you have to make something that immediately turns me off from it. And at first, that wasn't happening. But I think now, as the pressure builds for me to both maintain a high market inventory level, but also now that I have the store to think about, um, I will say I haven't been getting that many custom orders as it is. But I think moving forward, like I do have a sign in my booth advertising them. I don't think I'm going to put that out anymore. And then when people bring a custom order idea to me at a market or on social media, depending on what it is, like if it's something I have in stock already, then maybe. But if I don't and I'm not 100% feeling it, I don't think I'm going to take it. I have mixed feelings about it because on one hand, I really do love getting that money and it does help you to build connections with people. There was one lady last year at one of the shows I did. She bought one strawberry cow lovey from me, and since then, she is putting custom orders for 3 or 4 more. I mean, that we're talking a substantial amount of money there, but she is one person out of I don't know how many custom orders I've done. I'm not seeing like repeats typically like that. Now for her, I would do it because she always brings me like a really creative idea. Like she's the one that had me make the bunny lovey with the overalls that I free-handed. She's the one that asked me to make a ballerina mouse. And so like I love the ideas that she brings me because they're always creative and that helps like scratch a part of my brain. But as far as like I'm just thinking about the custom orders I have right now that I need to get done for this weekend. And I'm just like, I really don't want to be doing them. I'd rather do something else. So that's going to be the thing that I do differently in the second half of this year, and we'll see how it goes. I do know myself, and I worry that I'm going to have a hard time saying no, but I'm trying to remember and remind myself this feeling that I'm feeling right now where it's like, I just don't want to do it. Like, I'd rather do anything else.
Yep, that's why I don't do it.
Yeah. So.
I I want to add on now that I mysteriously have TikTok live access, I'm going to attempt to be semi consistent or regular doing weekly lives where I'm crocheting, um, like offering to be a body double if you need also motivation to get your butt moving and get some projects done. Probably gonna do it tonight. Doesn't matter to anybody listening to this episode because we are way ahead in recording.
Yeah.
But it might be helpful to you. You might come on.
Yes. Yes. Because I will need it tonight busting out these levies. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, hopefully that like there are so many days. Well, I mean, we've discussed it where we just don't want to do anything. Like we know we have to get moving. Um, but and like we've called each other to be a body double and we've been productive during those times, I think. Um, so I'm hoping that doing this will help not only anyone who comes to watch, but also myself. Like it'll hold me accountable for something.
Hmm.
So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. I'm excited. I am gonna stay back and follow your lead a little bit, but that is something I've talked about before where I did consider going live on Twitch, and that's something I've continued to come back to. And so potentially later this summer, it's something I want to try to see if I still want to do and then figure out exactly how to do it. I know Twitch is a little bit more complicated because you have to have like an overlay and that's like a whole other thing to have to design. But yeah, I definitely think again being able to build up a community of people, even if they're not crocheters, but just to give you a reason to keep working when you really don't feel like it, I think anything like that is a positive.
Yeah, for sure.
Anything else you would like to add to our State of the Union on markets?
No. I'm I'm hoping everything that we've said is going to keep each of us accountable. Because we've still got a lot of year left. We've got several shows left to do. Um, and we can only go up. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the rest of the year.
Yeah, and I think it was healthy for us both to take this time to do the reflection piece, especially because I don't know about you, but like for me, going into this episode, I thought things were a lot bleaker than what they actually were. And so I it was a good, I think, motivation for me to revisit last year a little bit more concretely and not just how it is in my memory. And so it gives me a little bit more energy to now go and plan for the rest of the year and figure out what it is that I'm going to focus on inventory wise while I still have this time off from school. And yeah,
Yep.
awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. We're so happy that you were here to listen. Please feel free to give us a comment if you're also setting up at markets, whether you're a crochet business owner or not. Let us know how this year has been going for you. How does it compare to our experiences? We would love to hear it. Please be sure to also rate and follow our podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and also follow our business accounts on Instagram and Facebook. Jess is at Craic Creations, Craic spelled Craic, and I am at Yellow of the Egg Designs. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.